Let me extend a welcome again to everyone for our 45-minute Tuesday practice. And I'm glad to see you here and glad you could make it to our virtual practice today. Let's begin the seated position as we almost always do. And let your eyes close down. Take the time to bring your awareness to your sitting bones and just feel the gentle pressure of the sitting bones on the mat. As you breathe in, feel your spine lengthening, and then as you exhale, relax the shoulders and let them come back and then down a little bit. Do that twice more, breathing in, feeling the spine lengthen, and then exhale the shoulders back and down. And one more time like that. Breathe in deeply, and to exhale, release the shoulders down. I'm doing that because we have a tendency to kind of hug our shoulders up towards the ears, trying to relax that a little bit. Now bring your hands to your knees with the palms facing down. And then look off to your left. We'll begin with just movement. And then to the right. And to the left. And to the right. Bring it back to center now, and on an inhale, lift your chin, not too high, just a little bit. And then bring the chin towards the chest, just a nodding motion with the head, lifting the chin, and then exhaling, bringing the chin towards the chest. Come back to a neutral spot, and then bring your right ear towards your right shoulder. Let your head drop or lift back up, and then left ear towards the left shoulder. And let your head come back up. One more time, right ear towards right shoulder. Let the head float back to center, and now left ear towards left shoulder. Then bring your head back to center. Now bring the left hand, or right hand down rather, beside you, and reach the left hand up and overhead. And we're just going to circle the right arm and the right shoulder joint. Go around a couple of times one way, and then swing it back the other. Just experiencing the range of motion. And then bring the left hand down, reach the right hand up and over so your right bicep is right next to the left ear. Sorry, the right bicep is next to the right ear. Now reach through that right hand and then circle the right arm in that shoulder joint. Go around a couple of ways, or a couple of times one direction, and a couple of times back the other way. Then come back to center and reach your arms out. And just play with your fingers, the thumbs. And as you do that, bend the elbows and bring the hands towards the shoulders, and then straighten the elbows. Keep moving the fingers, and then back to center. Let's come to table pose now. And with your hands right under your shoulders, drop your belly and lift your chin into cow pose. And then exhale to cat. Bring the chin to the chest. Press the middle of the back towards the sky. And again, dropping the belly, lifting the chin. And then exhale into cat pose. And one more time. Belly drops into cow pose, chin lifts. And press the hands into the mat now. Let your chin come towards your chest as you keep pressing the hands into the mat. And then back to a neutral spine. Now straighten the right leg, and press the right heel down towards the mat, or towards the back of your mat. Tuck your toes on that right foot. Press back on the right heel so you feel a stretch for most of you in the back of the calf muscle on that right side. And then bend the right knee and bring it down. Over to the other side. Straighten the left leg, toes tucked. Press back on the left heel until you begin to feel a stretch in the calf muscle on the back of that left leg, and then bend the left knee. Let your hips move to the right, and then off to the left, and to the right, and to the left. And one more time, to the right, and to the left. Then let your hips drop to your heels and come to a seat. And once you're seated, come back to the elbows into a reclining posture. Now bend the left knee and bring the left knee towards your chest and then across your body over to the right side, and then straighten the leg, pushing the knee away from you. Then bring the knee off to the left and then back to the chest. We're just going to go one direction and around about 3 times with this leg. And then when you finish, bring that right knee towards the chest and then straighten the right leg and bend and straighten. Maybe you'll feel a stretch in the hamstring muscles on that left leg, maybe not. Now bend the knee just a little and then find a little rotation of the foot at the ankle. You can go around 1 or 2 or 3 times each way. And then just bring that left leg down. Bend the right knee. Now bring the knee away from you and then, sorry, that's not right. Bring that left knee towards your chest, or the right knee rather, towards your chest, and then off to the right side. Now straighten the leg so the knee moves away from you and then across the body over to the left. And then bring the knee to the chest and just continue with this motion. We're just going to go one direction, just like we did on the other side, about 3 times around. And then come back to center, bend the right knee, then straighten the leg and bend and straighten and bend. Let's do that one more time. Straighten and bring the foot down a little bit. And then you can bend the knee a little here if you want and just rotate the foot at that ankle joint and go around a couple of times one way. And then back the other. Now bring that right foot down. Let's come back to a seated posture, cross-legged if you can. Now bring the right hand down to the mat. Reach the left hand up and over with the palm facing to the right. And then reach the left hand over to the right side and press down on the left sitting bone. So you're getting a nice stretch on the left side of the body. On an inhale, engage the core as you rise back up. And then bring your left hand down, reach up through the right hand, and then reach the right hand over to the left, staying grounded in your right sitting bone. Do you feel that stretch on the right side of the body? On an inhale, rise all the way back up. The core engages. Reach the arms high, interlace the fingers. Now invert the palms, stretch the palms up towards the sky. Press the sitting bones down and draw your navel in a little bit. And then release the hands. Bring them out to a T and take a twist to the left. Right hand comes to left knee. Left hand is down behind you. Look over the left shoulder as we work on a little twist in the spine. Then back to center, just a gentle twist, not too much. Left hand to right knee as we move to the other side. And then bring it back to center. And one more time to the left. And back to center. And over to the other side. Looking over that right shoulder. And then bring it all back to center. Now roll over the knees. And let's come to table pose second time. And then from there, what I would like you to do is step your left foot forward so it ends up between the hands. Untuck the toes on the right foot and come up on fingertips as you press the hips forward and that left knee forward. Now begin to straighten that left leg, pressing the left hip back and reach your head forward, but keep your gaze down. And then we'll do that twice more. Bend the left knee. Press the heart forward, press the hips down towards that left heel, and then straighten the left leg, pressing that left hip back, reaching the head forward. And last one on this side, press the knee forward, and then press back, straightening that left leg, reaching the head forward, and then step the left foot back so it meets the right foot. Step the right foot forward this time. And now press that right knee forward even more. Press the heart forward. And then straighten the right leg. Reaching the head forward. See if you can pull that left hip back a little, or the right hip rather, back a little bit. Pull the left hip forward. And then bend the right knee. Press the knee forward. Feel the stretch. And press back. And forward. Bending that right knee and back. And last one, bending the right knee, pressing it forward, pressing the heart forward, and then straightening the right leg. And then bend the right knee and step the right knee back so it meets the left knee. And we've come back to table pose. Now from table pose, I want you to drop your hips to your heels and then glide the hips forward and down. Walk the hands forward a couple of inches into a knees down, upward facing dog. And press back, hips pressing towards the heels. Forehead comes towards the mat. And then glide forward again. Keep the elbows straight as you press the heart forward. Lift the chin a little bit and press back. Let's continue about 3 more times through. Gliding the hips forward and down, and then pressing the hips high. And then back towards child's pose. Keep it going. And one more. Finish with your hips on your heels. And then rise to table pose. Tuck your toes and lift your hips into a downward facing dog. Press your hands into the mat. Bend the knees a little bit. And then slowly begin to walk the feet forward to the hands. Eventually, let your head drop down in a standing forward fold at the front of the mat. Now keep your chin on your chest. Draw your navel in as you rise. Then let your arms float up and overhead. And then exhale the hands, bringing them to heart center. Now inhale up and back, little back bend. Bring the weight into the front of the feet. The knees can bend. Now rise and swan dive, forward fold. Come to a half lift. Then exhale, let your head drop down. Press into the front of the feet and rise, reach up high. The core engages as you do that. Bring the palms together and then bring them to heart center. Let's do that again. Inhale up and back bend, pause. Now reach up high and exhale, fold forward. Come to a half lift. And exhale, let your head drop all the way down. Now press into the front of the feet and rise and reach up high. And hands to heart center. Let's do that 3 more times. Inhale up and back. Exhale, fold forward. Come to a half lift. Exhale, let your head drop down. Now bring your weight into the front of the feet so your heels almost float and slowly rise. Now you'll feel the core engaging quite a bit. Reach up high and exhale, hands to heart center. I think we have 2 more to do, up and back. Exhale, fold forward. Weight in the front of the feet as you come to a half lift. Exhale, let your head drop down. Press into the front of the feet and rise or reach up high. And then bring the hands to heart center. Last one. Inhale up and back. Nice deep back bend. Exhale, fold forward. Draw the breath in. Half lift. And then exhale, let your head drop down. Press into the front of the feet and rise and reach up high. And then bring your hands to heart center. Let your eyes close now and take 3 breaths. Breathing in and breathing out. Follow the breath twice more, flowing in and flowing out. And one more time, breathing in deeply and exhaling completely. Now on an inhale, reach your arms up and overhead. Now the arms come out to a T, swan dive, forward fold, come to a half lift. Then as you exhale, let your head drop down, leave the right foot forward and step the left foot back into runner's lunge. Check and see if that right knee is bent at about 90 degrees. Keep pressing the right knee forward. Keep pressing back on the left heel. That left leg is straight. Now, step the right foot back so it meets the left foot, and we've come to plank pose. Think about lengthening your body, pressing the hands into the mat. Now, bring your knees to the mat, untuck the toes, and lift the heart up off the mat into cobra pose. In cobra pose, the pubic bone is pressing down, the elbows are bent, and the elbows are tucked in close to the body. One more breath. and release. Bring it down. Now tuck your toes, stiffen your body as you push to plank, and then from there, lift your hips into downward facing dog. Take a moment to lengthen the spine in downward dog. Now leave your right foot on the mat and lift the left foot high, and then step the left foot all the way forward, bringing it between the hands. Now step the right foot forward and let your head drop down. Standing forward, fold. Now the arms come out to a T. Bring the weight forward into the front of the feet and rise slowly. Eventually let your arms float up and overhead. And exhale your hands, bringing them to heart center. That's a sun salutation. Sun salutation A. We're going to do that again. Inhale, reach up. Arms to a T. Swan dive forward, fold. Come to a half lift. You can bring your hands to the top of your shins if you like, the way I am at the moment. Pressing the hands into the top of the shins, reaching the tailbone back and reaching the top of the head forward towards the front of your mat helps lengthen the spine. Now a little bend in the knees as you fold at the hips. Let your head drop down, bring the hands to the mat. Now leave the right foot forward and step the left foot all the way back into runner's lunge. We actually already did that one, didn't we? So bring your left foot forward, the right foot is back, and press back on the right heel. That right leg is nice and straight and strong. Now step the left foot back so it meets the right foot. We've come back to plank pose. Press the mat away from you. Broaden the back if you can, between the back of the shoulders. Take one more breath. Now cobra pose, knees, then chest and chin, bringing yourself into cobra pose, lifting the heart up off the mat. See if you can find maybe a little bit deeper back bend here. And one more breath. Now release all the way down to your mat. Then tuck your toes, push to plank, and the hips are high into downward facing dog. On an inhale, lift the left leg up, and then step the left foot forward, bringing it between the hands, and step the right foot forward to meet it into a standing forward fold. Let your head drop down. Remember to bring the weight into the front of the feet so the heels almost begin to feel like they're floating. Let your head get a little heavier. Now the arms come out to a T and reverse swan dive to rise. Now let the arms float high and hands to heart center. Now let your eyes close down. Take 3 breaths. Breathing in deeply and breathing out completely. Let your breath deepen even a little bit more. Breathing in and breathing out. And one more time, big deep breath in. And exhale and let it go. Leave the hands at heart center and hinge at the hips. Begin to fold and let your head drop down. Bring the hands to the mat and step the right foot back, leaving the left foot forward. Step the left foot back so it meets the right foot. Now plank pose, and we're going to find 5 breaths in plank. Check in with the alignment. Remember, alignment is shoulders, hips, and heels all in the same line. Hands about shoulder width apart. Press into the pads of the fingers as well as the palm of both hands. One more breath. You're doing great. Now just lift your hips into downward facing dog without moving the hands and the feet. Glide forward to plank pose again. Find that alignment. And then use your core, use your abdominal muscles and glutes to lift your hips into downward facing dog. And again, gliding forward to plank and then lifting the hips. And one more time through, gliding to plank and then lifting the hips into downward facing dog. One more breath. Good. Now bring the knees down to the mat. Let's come back to table pose. Once you're in table pose, we're going to do table extension pose. So reach the left hand forward and the right foot back. You can reach through the toes of that right foot, or you can reach through the heel. Either way is okay. We're going to find 5 breaths now. Press that right hand into the mat and lengthen, reaching through the fingertips of the left hand and the right foot. Stretch it out. One more breath. You're doing great. I know it's hard. Now reach the left hand off to the left if you can, and then reach the right foot off to the right. Maybe you can see it better this way. So I'm reaching my hand and my foot in opposition to one another in the pose. Notice the muscular engagement. It's really deep. Now swing the hand forward and the foot back to a table extension pose, and then bring elbow towards knee and let the spine round, and then reach back out and bring the left hand down, bring the right knee down. Let your hips drop to your heels. Rise to table pose. Now upward facing dog. Bring the knees off the mat. Let the shoulder blades come a little closer together on the back. And then tuck your toes and lift your hips. Downward facing dog. Stretch it out. One more breath. Now bring the knees to the mat. And we're going to find table extension pose on the second side. So reach the left leg back and the right hand forward. Remember to spread your fingers really wide on the left hand that's on the mat. And that'll give you a nice base for the pose. You may want to play with where you place that left hand on the mat. It'll help you to move it around a little bit. 2 more breaths, lengthening. One more deep breath. You're doing great. Now reach the right hand off to the right with the palm facing down, the left leg off to the left. Reach the hand and the foot apart from one another. One more breath. Whoa, and bring the left leg back. Right hand reaches forward back to table extension pose. Now elbow comes towards knee, spine rounds, and exhale and reach back out, and then bring the right hand down. Bring the left knee down. Let the hips drop to the heels. Bring your knees apart and find child's pose. Let your forehead rest gently on the mat. 5 breaths now. Bring your awareness to your breath and let your breath begin to slow. Pay attention to how the breath feels as it moves through the body. And 2 more breaths in child's pose. And 1 more. Now from child's pose, rise up to table. Then bring your knees so that they're back about hip width apart. Tuck your toes and lift your hips into downward facing dog. Now lift your right leg high and then open the hips to the right, 3-legged dog. And now level the hips off and step the right foot forward so it comes a little bit behind the hands, not quite between them. Spin your left heel to the mat, then straighten the right leg and rise all the way up. We're going to do a modified version of pyramid pose. Bring the hands behind you, and if you can, see if you can bring the palms together, so it'll look like that. If you can't do that, you can take opposite elbows perhaps, or just interlace the fingers behind the back. So any of those options is fine. Now square your hips to the front of the mat, level your chin so your gaze is forward, then square your shoulders to the front of the mat. Now I want you to hinge at the hips, folding forward, come down halfway until your spine is parallel to your mat, and then slowly rise back up. Nice and slow, gentle movement. Do that a second time. Halfway down. Come to a place where your spine is parallel to the mat, and then rise all the way back up. One more time. Halfway down. And then rising back up. And then bend the right knee, release the hands, reach them high. And exhale the hands to heart center. Take a breath, bend the right knee a little bit more. And then bring the hands down in front of that right foot and step the right foot back so it meets the left foot. We're back to plank pose. 2 more breaths in plank. Concentrating on pressing the mat away from you. So you feel your shoulders rising, body nice and long. Now flow through a vinyasa, either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga into upward facing dog. Find 2 breaths now in upward dog. When you're ready, roll over the toes into downward facing dog. On an inhale, reach the left leg high and find 3-legged dog on your second side, stacking the left hip over the right. Then level the hips off and step that left foot forward, but not quite between the hands. Then bring your right heel to the mat, straighten the left leg. Keep weight in both feet, including that back foot, and then slowly rise all the way back up. Now square the hips up, so bring that right hip forward, pull the left hip back for most of you. And then bring the hands behind your back in whatever way works for you on this side. So maybe you have the palms touching and the fingers pointing up. That creates a big stretch in the shoulders. Or maybe you have opposite elbows, or perhaps arms straight and fingers interlaced. Just find a position that works for you. Now lengthen the spine and pay attention to the hips. So we're going to round at the hip or hinge at the hips rather than rounding at the belly. Keep the spine long, come halfway down. Keep reaching the head forward, pulling that left hip back, and then press into the left foot and rise back up. Good. Let's do it a second time. Halfway down. Spine about parallel to the mat, and then rise back up. And one more time. Last one. And then rise all the way back up. Bend your left knee. You can release the hands now and bring them to heart center. Take a breath. Then bring the hands down in front of that left foot. Come up onto the ball, the right foot. Step the left foot back to plank pose. Take a breath. Now roll over onto the pinky toe side of that left foot, side plank. Reach the right hand high. This is our basic side plank pose. If this is too much for you, you can bring that right foot to the mat and bring that left knee down. That's also a side plank. This is a supported version. I almost got the words confused. If you want more out of the pose, reach that right hand forward with the palm facing down. Maybe pick the right foot up at the same time. Let the foot come down if it's up, and bring the right hand down. Back to plank pose. Flow through a vinyasa now. Knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga into upward facing dog. And then downward facing dog. 3 breaths now in downward dog. And 2 more. And 1 more. Now glide forward to plank. And let's find our side plank, rolling over onto the pinky toe side of that right foot. Reach the left hand up to begin, supporting the pose if you want to with that right knee. If you want more out of the pose, reach the left hand forward, pick the left foot up. Much more energetic. Now release the foot. Release the hand back to plank pose. Not quite done. 2 breaths here. And 1 more. Now vinyasa. Knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga, upward facing dog. And then roll over the toes, lifting the hips into downward facing dog. Now 5 breaths in downward dog, making a real effort to stretch it out by pressing the hands into the mat, reaching the tailbone up and back. Lots and lots of length in the spine. Keep it going. 2 more breaths. And 1 more. Now bring your knees to the mat. And then come up on the knees. Come up to kneeling, that is, so that your hips are over your knees and your shoulders are right over your hips. We're going to work on camel pose. And what I'd like you to do is bring your hands to the low back for our first version of camel pose. With the fingers pointing down, pull your elbows a little closer together. That creates some space at the top of the chest. See if you can breathe into that expanded space. One more breath there. Now, press the heels of your hands into your low back, and then lift your chin and find a baby camel pose. I almost said a baby Yoda pose. Check your hips and see if your hips are over your knees. Let your back begin to move more deeply into a back bend. Now keep pressing the hands into the low back as you rise. And then as you exhale, bring the hands to the mat, tuck the toes, lift the hips, and at the same time walk the hands back to the feet. So standing forward fold at the back of the mat, Uttanasana. Take opposite elbows and pull the elbows down towards your mat. So you're lengthening your spine. Notice where you're feeling the stretch. And if you feel that stretch in the back of the knees, you may want to bend the knees a little bit. That effectively lengthens your hamstring muscles and moves the stretch, at least for most of you, into the middle part of the hamstrings, as opposed to either the hips or the back of the knees. Let the spine lengthen even more as your elbows press down towards the mat a little more deeply. Now bring the hands down to the mat and walk the hands forward and come down to your knees again. Let's come to kneeling, and we're going to do a second camel pose. You can do another baby camel if you like, with the hands in the low back, or you can move into the full version of the pose if you're so inclined, maybe bringing the hands to the heels or even to the bottoms of the feet. Press your hips forward and breathe. We're going to find 3 breaths now in camel pose, whatever version of the pose you find yourself in. 2 more breaths. And 1 more. Now very slowly rise and bring the hands down to the mat, tuck the toes, and lift your hips and then walk the hands back to the heels. Standing forward fold, second time here. You've taken opposite elbows and you feel the head getting heavy. You feel the elbows stretching down towards the mat. 3 more breaths. And 2 more. And 1 more. Now keep opposite elbows. Keep your biceps on either side of your ears and slowly rise all the way up, feeling deep core engagement, the abdominals as well as the glutes. Reach the elbows high. I've turned to face you. Bring the feet so they're a little bit farther apart than hip width. And we're going to take a bend to the left, pressing the hips to the right. Now pull that left elbow down, reach with the right elbow. Now rise back up, lots of core engagement there. And then over to the other side. And then back to center, reach the elbows high. Now pull the elbows back, look up, find a back bend. And as you exhale, release the arms and swan dive into a forward fold. Come to a half lift. Hands either to the top of the shins or on the mat if you can. Bring the weight into the front of the feet again. Lengthen the spine. And now begin to walk the hands forward into downward facing dog. Once you're there, reach your tailbone up and back and lengthen the spine. Bend the knees if the sensation in the back of the legs is too intense. On an inhale, leave your left leg on the mat, reach the right leg high, open the hips to the right, 3-legged dog. Relax that right foot and work on stacking the right hip over the left hip. Level the hips off now, and then bring that right foot forward so it comes between the hands. We've come to runner's lunge. Bring the left knee to the mat, and then rise to a low crescent lunge. Reach the arms high. Press the right knee forward. And you can keep reaching up, or if you want, just to experiment a little bit, maybe bring the hands to the hips and see what that feels like, and see if you can keep the torso long with hands on hips. Now bring the arms out to a T and take a twist to the right. Left elbow comes to right knee, palms joined together, and reach that right elbow high. Keep pressing that right knee forward. This is our little lunge twist. Now keep the palms together, press into the right foot, use the core to come back to center. Hands are still at heart center. Now reach up high. Then as you exhale, bring the hands down on either side of the right foot and tuck the toes and bring the left knee off the mat. Now reach that right leg all the way back up and overhead into a three-legged dog, second time on this side. And then level the hips off and step the right foot forward again between the hands. Release the left knee to the mat, untuck the toes on the left foot. This is lizard pose. I'm going to turn and face you. Bring the elbows to the mat if you're able to. So mine come all the way down. If yours don't, and you don't have a prop, you can just bring the hands to the mat and bend the elbows. So let your chest come down and then lengthen your body in lizard pose, and then hug the right knee in towards the right shoulder. Notice the sensations, notice the intensity of the sensations. And one more breath. Now walk back up onto the hands, and then tuck your toes, bring your left knee off the mat, and reach that right leg up and overhead for the third three-legged dog on this side in this sequence. And then level your hips and bring your right foot down into downward facing dog. Now stretch it out in downward dog. And then glide forward, plank, flow through a vinyasa, knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga into upward facing dog. And then finish into downward facing dog. Now we've got that whole sequence to do on the other side. So lift the left leg up, three-legged dog to the left side, stacking the left hip over the right, relaxing the left foot. Press both hands into the mat, level your hips off now, and then step the left foot forward so it comes between the hands. Bring the right knee to the mat and then tuck the toes. Press into the left foot as you rise, low crescent lunge. Left knee presses forward. Now the arms out to a T. Take your twist to the left, right elbow to the knee, palms joined together, and the left elbow reaches high. 2 breaths here. And one more. Now keep the palms together, press into the left foot as you rise, so the core engages as you do that. And reach the arms high and bring them down on either side of the left foot. Toes tuck as the left knee comes off the mat. Now reach that right leg up and overhead, three-legged dog on this side, second time here. Level the hips, and left foot steps forward between the hands yet again. Now we come down to lizard pose. Untuck the toes and bring the right knee to the mat. Bring the elbows down if you can. And I know some of you are able to do this, and some of you can't. I mentioned before, if you have a block, you can rest your elbows on the block or a pillow or a rolled up blanket or anything like that to elevate them a little bit if the sensation is too intense otherwise. Remember to hug the left knee in towards the left shoulder. And one more breath. You guys are doing great. Now walk back up onto the hands and bring that left foot between the hands, tuck the toes and bring the right knee off the mat. Last time, lift that left leg high and three-legged dog, opening the hips for the last time to the left. Really stretch it out. And then level your hips and bring that left foot down into downward dog. We're going to find 5 breaths now in downward dog. Really testing the limits of our patience, testing the limits of our capacity to remain in a pose, challenging and accepting whatever comes. One more breath. Now glide forward to plank. Let's find our last vinyasa. Knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga, but you probably knew that, into upward dog. And then finish by bringing the knees wide, letting your hips drop to your heels into child's pose. Forehead rests on the mat, or a block, or a blanket. 2 more breaths in child's pose. And 1 more. Rise from child's pose now, and then come to a seat. And once you're seated, find a cross-legged position. Take a moment to feel your sitting bones really seated in the mat. So feel that pressure in the sitting bones. Now sit up nice and tall, but keep your chin level. Now draw a deep, I have the hiccups, draw a deep breath in. Then as you exhale, twist to your left, bringing the right hand to the left knee, and the right hand, of course, comes down behind you. As you breathe in, feel the spine lengthening, maybe increasing the distance between each of the vertebrae in the spine. Do that 1 more time, breathing in and twisting, and then let it go. Come back to center. Now keep the spine long, hinge at the hips, and fold forward. If you can, bring your forehead all the way down to the mat. Now press into the hands and rise with a nice long spine, so try not to round. And then let's take our twist to the right, left hand to right knee, right hand right hand behind you, look over your right shoulder, breathe in. And out. And again, breathing in. And breathing out. Good. Bring it back to center now. And deep breath. As you exhale, hinge at the hips, folding forward, keeping the spine long. Maybe the forehead comes to the mat. Maybe yours doesn't quite reach. Now keep the spine long as you press into the hands and rise. Now, twist so you're aligned with your left leg, so that your left knee is kind of right in front of your sternum. Now, hinge at the hips and begin to fold forward over that left leg. You're going to feel a big stretch in the right leg. And then rise back up. And back to center, and then over to the other side. Now align the shoulders with that extended, or actually that bent right leg. And then keep the shoulders level as you come down. See if you can bring your chest so that it rests on that bent right knee. And then slowly rise back up. And back to center. Now facing the front of your mat, bend the knees and then roll all the way down to your back. And once you're on your back, reach your heels to the sky into legs up the wall pose. Once you're there, press your sacrum into the mat and reach the heels high towards the sky. 1 more breath. Now bend the knees and bring the soles of the feet to the mat. And then walk your feet back towards your hands until you can brush your heel with your fingertips. And we're preparing now for bridge pose. We're just going to do 1 bridge pose. Press your feet into the mat and lift your hips. See if you can walk the shoulders together under your back. You can interlace your fingers behind your back if you like. Now maybe lift your hips a little bit higher still. 2 more breaths. Keep pressing the feet into the mat. Noticing the hips rise. Noticing the deep back bend. 1 more breath. And release. Bring it down. Once your tailbone lands, pick your feet up off the mat and bring the knees in towards your chest. Then bring your arms out to a T. Knees stay together. Let the knees float to the left. And then back to center and to the right. And back to center and to the left. And back to center and to the right. And then let the knees float back all the way to center. Bring your hands down by your sides. Straighten your legs. And flip your palms so they face up. We've moved into Shavasana. Now take a deep breath. As you exhale, let go of all tension that you can in your body. Maybe begin to feel the whole back body resting on the mat. With each exhale, let your back body soften even more, so that you feel your body conforming to your mat and you feel your mat conforming to your body. Follow the breath as it flows in and out and in and out. 5 more breaths. Keep it going. 3 more breaths. And 2 more. Now 1 deep breath. And exhale, let the breath go. Now bend your knees, roll to your side, and then come to a seat. You keep your eyes closed down. Bring the palms to the top of the knees, so the palms are facing down. And now take a huge breath in, really deep. And then open your mouth, exhale, and let it all go. Do that again. This time, shrug the shoulders up towards the ears as you inhale. And then open mouth, exhale, let it go. Bring your hands to heart center if you like. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I offer you loving kindness. May you be happy and well and safe. Be peaceful and at ease. Namaste.